All right. This is Sheriff Steve Prater and the Director of Homeland Security for Caddo Parish. And we wanted to give you a update and a little news conference about everything that's going on in our parish and in our cities right now. I know everybody's frustrated with the weather, frustrated with your electricity, frustrated with your water, and we're trying the best we can to solve as many problems as we can. But we don't control the weather. And so we'll try to respond and react to it as best we can. And I just want to assure you we're out there working hard for you. I just got in and just now literally got out of my truck to do this news conference. And when I tell you the roads are horrible, the roads are horrible. They're as bad as I've ever seen them. You can barely get up and down the hills. There's cars in ditches, and it's really, really dangerous. Please do not go anywhere that you don't have to go. It doesn't make sense to go out just because you need a little milk or something like that. Wait till later. Do without the milk. Just don't go unless you absolutely have to be out there, because when you get in a ditch or have an accident or need something, then it ties up one of our units. And from the first responders, we have to go and help you. And we've got a lot of life and death situations we're working with right now. So don't go anywhere that you don't have to. Be careful. Many of you have sheds that your cars are parked under, or the boats under, or something like that. We're getting many reports, and I've seen a lot of pictures. Those are collapsing now under the weight of the ice and rain and snow. If you do have to go outside and go under a shed, be careful, because those things are going to fall, and eventually we're going to have some terrible accidents with the shed falling on people. So please do not go outside and get under a shed. If you've got to move your vehicle, get it out from underneath there, but be very, very careful doing that. Some of the water systems in the rural parts of the parish are down. I don't have to tell you that, you know that. Some of them because they've frozen, some of them because of other malfunctions, but whatever the reason, I promise you they're working on that as hard as they can. There's many systems under boil advisories if you do have water, so pay attention to those. The news media and Facebook pages of the governments, different government entities will keep you up on that. And please, while we're talking about social media, get your information from a government website. Some of the neighborhood groups, they do a super job helping us fight crime and get information out, but sometimes someone is not even associated with that Facebook page or whatever will post something that's just a rumor, and that rumor goes and goes and goes. So if you need some information, go to a government website and then go back to your neighborhood site, but get your accurate information from the government sites. Some people are realizing that they don't have power and they don't have water and they can't stand another night of it. Some elderly people. If you really have a sheltering need, call 211. That's simple enough, 211, and you'll be directed to where shelters are, and you can get the help that you need. So please call 211 with any sheltering needs. We've got all sorts of problems with the hospitals, and I would imagine that the mayor is going to explain some more about the water in the hospitals as they relate to the city. So I'll leave that to him. But I know places like CCC, for instance, we have barely a trickle of water out there, and there's no way to flush toilets except on a rotating basis by dorm. So it's very uncomfortable out there for the inmates. They have very little heat out there. And so we're working on those sorts of problems too throughout the parish. And I know that there's nursing homes, hospitals, and even at your private house, personal residence, that there's problems. So we got problems everywhere. Rest assured, we're working on them quick as we can, trying to get some kind of relief there. We've requested the National Guard to come in and help us with watering, and we'll see what happens. The roads are the roads are impassable, basically. And so some of the resources from down south are having trouble getting up here to help us. Our EOC, Emergency Operations Center, has been manned now since yesterday. I've got people there that have been there for 24 hours, and they'll stay the duration, trying to coordinate resources. And I know that the city and the rural fire departments and police departments and hospitals and everyone else has people assigned to the EOC. We're working on ways to transport people if they need critical transportation. But like I say, the roads are so horrible that we can't just give people lifts here or there. And of course, you know that I'm not talking, I'm not trying to talk down to you. You know, we can't run a taxi service, but if it is an emergency, if it is something like that, we'll try to do our best between the city resources and the parish resources. We'll try to get you where you need to go if it's critical. So if you need that, then call one of the services and you'll be directed to the EOC, and we'll figure out what we're going to do to get you the transportation that you need. All in all, I want to say as I conclude my portion that I promise you that we are working as hard as we can. Most of us are without power ourselves, without water ourselves. And so it's frustrating to all of us. Just bear with it. It's going to pass. This too will pass. Just like floods and hurricanes and tornadoes, we'll get through this. So just be patient, pray, and it'll soon be gone and soon be over, and we'll have some sunny skies. With that, I'll leave it. I'll ask Mayor Perkins to tell us what he's got.
Yeah, thanks, Sheriff. I appreciate it. You did a great job. You did a great job at providing an overview. I also appreciate the media outlets that have come so that we can speak with one voice right now. We can put out pertinent information to our citizens. But two things you talked about already that I want to just briefly touch on, and one is safety. From a safety component, we've already had SPD officers injured that are out there trying to help motorists that get stranded on the roads. So please, if you have to leave your house, make sure there's an emergency, like a medical emergency, or you're seeking shelter or housing because something has gone wrong due to the inclement weather. The second thing I want to touch on is the misinformation that's out there right now. A lot of people are cramped up in their homes and on social media, and a lot of anxiety is out there, and it makes us kind of susceptible to misinformation. One in particular to the city of Shreveport, it was information out there that we had not been helping our homeless and not providing housing to the homeless population in Shreveport. That is not true. Since last Friday, we were doing outreach alongside the Salvation Army and Hope Connections to our homeless populations, especially in those areas where we know them to be, like downtown and various tent cities around the city. But we face a barrier. If they do not want to come along with us, if they don't want to accept our assistance, then we cannot force them to. So that was a barrier. And up to this point, we have helped dozens of homeless, dozens of families in our community get the housing that they need. And I'll reiterate one more time, if somebody is out there right now or knows someone that's out there that needs housing, to call the 211 number and we will get you adequate housing during this time. Another thing I wanted to touch on is the rumor about our energy grid being shut down because they weren't getting enough water. I know SWEPCO has already released a press release about this, but that is not true. The SWEPCO plants here actually don't even get their water from the city of Shreveport. So we are fortunate that our energy grid is going strong right now. And I would say just not just fortunate, but we're blessed. What is not so fortunate for our community right now is our water system. Just to be broad about it, our water system is aging, and we don't typically get weather like this. Our community is not retrofitted to handle weather like this. This is a once in a century storm that we're dealing with, and our water crews have been working all night. Even last night, I got a call from our water crews that were out there doing some patchwork on our system at about 10 o'clock that allowed us to call the hospital systems and give them a heads up that their status right now with their water is probably going to linger through the weekends until about Saturday. The roads are in too bad a condition, and even as we're trying to get special equipment out to our the people doing our repairs on our water system, we have special equipment that's sliding all over the road and can't even get out to these sites. In addition to the difficulty in finding the water breaks because the ice and snow that's on the ground. So we're going to continue to work through this the entire inclement weather system, but we just don't know if we'll be able to make enough progress to really improve the water status of our citizens with the water, with the ice and snow on the ground. So where you are right now, just plan and do everything that you can and anticipate that your water status is going to remain the same through Saturday when things start to warm up and we can get clear roads and be able to really pinpoint the issues in our system. But believe me, our people are out there working around the clock and we're doing all that we can. I just want our citizens to know and be prepared that we're in the middle of this storm right now. We still have a couple days going forward. And this is a time for us to pull together, not put out misinformation, not point fingers, but it's a time for us to pull together so that we can get through this winter storm. And I will leave it there. I understand we're going to take some questions later, and I will pass it on to Sheriff Prater.
Yes. Okay. Now we have the Caddo Parish Commission President, Lyndon Johnson. President Johnson.
Thank you, Sheriff Prater and Mayor Perkins. You covered a lot, but some things I also want to add to the topic as well is that Government Plaza will be closed Thursday. All parish departments and administrative offices will also be closed. The trash compactor sites across the parish would also be closed. Animal services is closed, but we do have animal control officers out that will be on emergency calls to try to see what's going on in the Caddo Parish area. Our regular scheduled meeting for Thursday has been canceled. I have rescheduled our work session for Monday and our regular session for Wednesday of next week. Emergency personnel working for the parish will monitor the weather situations, and we will also have crews out monitoring the roads, the bridges that we can put sand on as we need to. But we're urging our citizens to stay off the roads as much as possible because we don't want to put you at risk and put our first responders at risk, trying to save you as well. And to last but not least, as Mayor Perkins talked about, rely upon the websites of the city, the parish, and the Homeland Security websites for your information. Social media is not going to give you 100% information all the time. So rely upon the websites that we have in place to give you that up-to-date information dealing with the weather and dealing with the parish and the city. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any questions now from anyone?
Yes, I have a question. This is Shantae from KTBS 3.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for having this all together, guys. My question is about planning moving forward. This is a rare storm, but moving forward, what changes, and this is kind of for everyone because it kind of impacts different agencies differently. What changes do you think should be made as far as whether it's contracting crews to help with salt and plowing or getting the equipment or making better use of the equipment, or maybe finding the funding to update the water system? Have any of you guys started thinking about ways to improve the city and parish to better prepare moving forward?
Yeah, I can speak for the city, Sheriff.
Good.
I'll jump in. We've already been having conversations. We definitely need to upgrade our water system here. But again, this is a once in a century style storm. And if we're anticipating extreme weather like we have been getting over the last couple of years, then we do need to look into investments in maybe salt and some possible trucks. But understand, city government, we have limited resources. So we often have to balance whether or not we buy equipment to clear out ditches or cut grass over, hey, do we buy salt that we could potentially just have to store in a warehouse for the next 3 to 4 years or whenever we get a significant amount of snow. So yeah, we're going to look to have at least minimal levels of this type of those type of resources going forward so that we're not caught so flat-footed. But then again, we don't typically see this type of weather, and we definitely enacted our emergency plans just like we always have prior to this storm coming.
And on the parish side, I have talked to our parish administrator to try to see how we can be more proactive with storms like this. Even though this one was more extreme, we've had sleet storms in the past, frozen rain in the past. And so what I want to do is repurpose some of the equipment that we might have, take those sand trucks and put a front end blade in front of it so that we can put them on the road and clear some of the major roads off that we might have. Take some of those asphalt that used to spray asphalt out the back and repurpose it for a salt truck. Things like that, we could do with minimal amount of money and just repurposing equipment that we already have and try to open up some of the main roads so that first responders can get where they need to get more safely. And those citizens that need to get out, they can actually get out and get to the main road and be safe on the main road. And the only problem they would have is in the neighborhood. We wouldn't really work with the neighborhood roads, but we'll do the main roads and the main bridges and try to make them passable, for this length of time, because I don't think nobody really paid attention to it for as the private citizens, that they probably would be out for more than a couple of days like normally they would be. But now we're going to be pretty much out for about a whole week. And so, it's going to be hard on some of those that need to get out and won't be able to get out. So just looking at some equipment that we can repurpose. That's all.
This is for Mayor Perkins and Steve Prater. Have you contacted Baton Rouge for an emergency declaration for the city and the parish? Has that been accomplished?
Yes, sir. That's it's been accomplished. The mayor signed a declaration, as did President of the Caddo Parish Commission. That was one of the things that we did a couple of days ago, as a matter of fact. So we take care of that through the Homeland Security Office. That's the first thing that we do, and that's already been done. Has been done for quite some time.
Mayor Perkins, also, we are experiencing two significant events. One, obviously, the COVID and the pandemic. And secondly, this weather. You talked about infrastructure being old. As of 2000, when we had a 2-week electrical interruption because of ice, this has been going on 2 decades now. I know money's short, but over 2 decades, has the city made any improvements? I remember covering main blowouts in parts of the city. Has anything improved?
Yeah, we're making improvements every year, but we have those deferred maintenance as well throughout our city for even longer than the 2 decades that you're talking about, Mario. That's the reason why we've talked about more substantial upgrades for our system in various capacities. So until we can, get the funding to upgrade our system to be more resilient, I think we'll continue to see these massive interruptions whenever we get these once in a century storms. It's just going to happen. So we got to make those investments. And then one thing I want to go back and touch on is we're talking to Baton Rouge continuously. I was on the phone with the governor last night at midnight. He called back to check on our status this morning at about 7 o'clock this morning. And the National Guard is being very attentive to our needs. The problem is just the roads and them actually responding to the request, as the sheriff already pointed out. So we're in continuous communications. This isn't just Shreveport hurting or Caddo hurting. The entire state is hurting right now because we're experiencing something that we hadn't experienced in a very long time.
Thank you.
I have a question. This is Deborah with the Shreveport Times. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Deborah.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we have any idea of the number of storm-related deaths yet? I mean, has there been a count? I know I heard of one person, a homeless person. Do we have any reports of others that are related to the storm? Other deaths,
Not that I'm aware of, other than the one.
Okay.
That's the only one.
Okay. Well, that's good news.
Yes, and of course, one is too many.
Yes.
Let's face it. This is, realistically, we in emergency preparedness, we learn how to be flexible and respond to every emergency that we can. But there's going to be emergencies like this that we did not anticipate, or we did anticipate emergencies. I don't want it to act like that, but who knew it was going to get down to 1 degree in Shreveport, Louisiana, and then have 2 or 3 ice and precipitation one after another. So we're doing what I'm very proud of the job that we're doing. It's unfortunate that it is, and if you're without water or electricity, you probably ain't that proud. But I'm telling you, we're responding to the emergency calls that we can and trying to get your services back on. I know that SWEPCO is working hard and is going to work hard. I know the cities, both the rural and the city of Shreveport, is going to work just as hard to try to get your water restored.
And Deborah, I'd like to add this, just to piggyback on the sheriff. I'm extremely proud of our crews that are out there working, extremely proud of our local partners that have been working around the clock as well. But I want to add this, again, we can only help those that will accept help from the city. And in some cases, our homeless population or somebody might not want to go with the city or go with the Salvation Army. And what we've seen the Church Little Union opened up as a warming center, and we've seen some people from the community that have turned us down that have accepted their help. And I think that's a great example of the community kind of coming together and saying, hey, how can I help? How can I assist at this time? And creating other options for us to look after one another. So I just really want to tip my hat to them, thank them for jumping in the fight with us in a safe way so that we can protect even more citizens.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you.
Sheriff, when will I-49 open from North Market to the Arkansas border? When do you expect that to be accomplished?
That'll be strictly up to the Department of Transportation. They handle the state handles all of the federal interstates. They've tried to keep Interstate 20 open as much as they could. It's been down and been back up, and we're trying to keep it open as the main route through. The Interstate 49s, that's going to take a while.
Okay.
We just had a trucker that got on in Arkansas, and we just sent deputies to try to take him to shelter. He'd been there for almost 2 days, and we're going to get him to a truck stop. But my deputies had to drive almost to the Arkansas line to retrieve him. He was in a ditch because he didn't realize I-49 was closed. That's the kind of calls that we're having to risk deputies. That's a 25-minute drive on a closed interstate by my deputies to retrieve somebody that shouldn't have been there. And so that's the kind of thing I want everybody to use your noggin. Okay. That's what you got it for. And don't get out and drive in this mess and cause us to have to respond needlessly. We don't mind responding. That's why we're here. We're here for you, but we want to be here for you if you really need us, and we can't if somebody's out there bobsledding or doing something.
Did you retrieve that deputy this morning or yesterday? Excuse me, that trucker yesterday or today?
They're on the way today to get.
Okay. Wow.
And also, state troopers have been reporting more people out and about over the last 24 hours than they saw initially when the storm came. And they say they don't know if it's people getting cabin fever or what, but please don't do that. Don't just leave because you're tired of being holed up at home and you don't really have a good reason to jump on a roadway or the interstate. You're putting a lot of people's lives in danger by doing that.
Mayor,
Sure.
are your police officers still supplying water to the hospitals? I saw on Facebook that one of your officers, Castañeda, posted that they were supplying bottled water, and I think he said they might be out of that water. Is that still going on, or will that continue as long as the supply holds out?
Yeah, we got some water donations today, and I know as of a couple of minutes ago, we were delivering water to Willis Knight, and we're going to try to get more water to the systems throughout the remainder of the evening and tomorrow as well. And then the sheriff already pointed out, we have the National Guard that should be getting here tomorrow with additional water. So yeah, as you can imagine, hospitals are priority right now. You got medical situations that are extremely dire. So they're our priority right now, and hopefully we can get them their needs and then be able to get more water out to the broader community.
Thank you.
Question, who should drivers call if they do get stuck on the side of the road?
Well, if you're stuck on the side of the road, first call you ought to make is to a loved one to come and get you. But that's not practical, I understand, in this kind of weather, because you shouldn't be out unless it's a critical reason. But if you do get stuck, then you'd have no other choice but to call 911 or to call city and parish emergency services, and we will try to come and help you. But that's the kind of thing I'm trying to get people to understand is don't just get out there because you want to go get a hamburger or something. Okay, have a place you've got to be. It's that kind of a situation we're in right now.
Oh,
Sure.
I have one quick question. So there's no way to plow the streets or clear the streets with the equipment the city already has? I mean, or is there a way to put salt down? Is there salt available?
No.
Or is it just going to be?
The city does not have salt. We do not have snow plows. We do not have a plow that we can attach to a truck. You know, I understand that we see snow outside right now and we want to react to it, but you know, imagine 6 months ago if I would have went to city council and said, hey, you know what, we won't be able to cut grass because I want to buy salt for this winter. You know, I probably would have been laughed out of that city council meeting. This isn't something, we're not New York, we're not Philadelphia. This is
Not Chicago.
we're not Chicago. This is not something that we regularly see. So we do not have those resources on hand. Fortunately, in making calls and coordinating with LADOTD, at this point, they're saying, you know, hey, Shreveport is our priority because this weather is really hanging out in the northern part of the state, and they're able to assist us with some things. As of yesterday morning, I can cite Red Ball Oxygen, who delivers oxygen to hospitals and nitrogen to power plants. The National Guard was able to do some escort with them, and LADOTD right now is working hand in hand with our water department to get some specialty equipment escorted to them. So there are very, very few exceptions where the state is offering their resources, but at the local level, we got to be very economical with the resources that we have, and we are just not prepared for a storm like this.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can you hear me? Or Sheriff, can you hear me?
Yes.
What kind of stress is all this having on the deputies, on your deputy sheriff, on police? Mr. Mayor, I'll get you both to answer that.
Well, I can tell you the deputies they're working 12-hour shifts, but that's just the minimum. Some of them, I know one that's worked 24 hours or two at my EOC. They've been there for 24 hours running. My captain over patrol has been out there 24 hours, as have the lieutenant. So it's very, very stressful. It's stressful driving in this, and it's stressful having to see people getting situations out there. So there's a lot of stress, a lot of pressure on us to be there for everybody at this particular time. And but that's what we signed up for. And we'll continue to do what we need to do. But yes, there's a lot of stress, and every person in this community should be appreciative of the first responders and that you have in this area.
And John, I'll just say, you know, for me to describe the stress to, you know, the citizens of this city, I got to say it's probably unimaginable. They probably can't imagine what all our first responders are going through, because if you think about it, this isn't new to them. It's not like, oh, now they're about to have to deal with the stresses of a winter storm. They were on the front lines of fighting COVID-19. We're still in the middle of that pandemic. We had an uptick of crime in our city that pushed some of our officers to 12+ hour shifts on the job. And now they're out there having to rescue cars that have, you know, slid off the side of the road. And again, some of them have even gotten injured. So it's unimaginable the stresses that they're going through. And I mean, I just, you know, I'm proud of them for all the work that they've been putting in for the city. And, you know, they don't have the luxury of staying at home. They're out there every single day for us. So, yeah, it's no real way that I can describe to the average citizen all the sacrifices that our fire and police officers are out there making on a day-to-day basis, especially right now.
No,
Go ahead.
I've been seeing, just me personally, folks driving like it's 70 and sunny, doing 45, 50 miles an hour when you probably should be doing 10 or 15. How do you combat that? Either Sheriff, I guess I'll direct that to you, and Mr. Mayor, please chime in. But how do you combat that?
Well, I sometimes say things I shouldn't necessarily say it, but
Say it.
It's very disturbing to us when just a few minutes ago I'm driving 10 miles an hour down South Lakeshore Drive trying to get up a hill, and a truck is passing me, and the truck is going kind of halfway sideways and all that, and I'm shaking my head and saying, this guy has no idea what he's doing, the risk he's taking, and more importantly, what he's going to make us have to come do to get him out of a ditch or to call an ambulance for him. So you can write people tickets, but we don't have a lot of time to be writing you a ticket. Everybody's tied up. You can look at our screen, and we have people that are all over this parish and all over this city tied up. And so we don't have time to write you tickets. But if you act ass enough, we're going to figure out a way to write you a ticket. So just stay home. Do us a favor and stay home.
Mr. Mayor?
I reiterate the sheriff's point. Stay at home, please. This is how we combat that, by messaging to our community to let them know how dangerous the roads are. Just like I pointed out, this community isn't equipped with the resources to deal with this kind of weather. We're also not equipped with a driving experience in this type of weather. A lot of times people get on the road and they say, oh, my vehicle has traction, I can drive fast. But the problem often is stopping. And people don't make those calculations and just don't know, because we don't typically see this kind of weather. So please don't tempt it. You're not just putting your life in harm's way. You're going to be putting some first responders' life in harm's way as well, as they have to come out and save you if anything goes wrong. So just stay at home.
This is for everyone. What are the challenges for the next 16 hours and then into next week, when recovery and recuperation and repairs get going? What are the challenges you're seeing for the next 3 or 4 days into Monday?
I'll go first on that one. One thing that homeowners would probably see is busted pipes. If those lines have not been flowed properly as they thaw out, you'll start seeing leaks within the homes. As far as businesses, same thing. If those wasn't prepared, they wouldn't flow before you left on Friday, and no one's been there, you could come back to a lot of leaking water lines. As the mayor has talked about earlier, the city has already have some infrastructure problems. In North Caddo Parish, Pine Hill, basically their water system has frozen up. So those homeowners are without water right now. And within the next few days, they should be getting water back, or as that water starts to thaw out, that water will be coming back to them as a service. So water to me is going to be the primary deal, unless some tree limbs start taking out some power lines, and then we'll compound the situation with loss of electricity as well. But right now, it seems that water would be the main issue.
And
Is it illegal
Mario,
to leave your pets outside?
yes, whoever just said that, absolutely. Do not leave pets outside. But really quick, Mario, I don't want the audience to frame this storm over what's going to happen over the next 12 hours. I really want everybody to think through this all the way to Saturday when we get to the thawing event, because our road conditions and the water situation really is not going to improve until then. And I need everybody to make the right decisions up until that point. Plan as best as you can to take care of your families and remain safe over that time, because I really don't see much changing until Saturday, until we see that warmer weather come through our community.
Well, Mayor, the question wasn't in the context of just a 12-hour period. We are looking for remediation from the weather here in the next couple of hours, and planning and recovery will be top of mind for all parish and city leaders.
Mhm.
So looking forward, you'll have more ease to do things because of the weather. That was the framing, not the
Gotcha.
focus on what's coming tonight and tomorrow.
Gotcha.
We're rest assured that's part of the process. We'll have an after action report to discuss what all we could change, city and parish, what we could change to do a better job to respond to something like this. Although this is something that you don't expect, we can also do a good job about looking at what we can do a little bit better. But then as far as the planning goes, of course, we do that. We're planning on when the sun comes back out, how we're going to get the crews out there to repair the water lines, how we're going to do all that. So that's just part of leadership. And I promise you that that's being done.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up before it turns into a seminar. Mr. Mayor or President Johnson, you got anything else you need to just feel like you got to add?
Just to reinforce what we said earlier is to making sure that people stay at home. If you don't need to get out, please don't get out, and let the weather take its course. And nothing is going to change. As far as what you see outside it is what it is for right now. And after it starts to thaw out, then start trying to move around. But right now, just stay at home and try to keep our first responders to respond to those emergencies that they have to respond to, and not from a car incident, but maybe some other incident that has happened that is outside the control of individuals.
One thing before you, President Johnson, there's someone asked about some pets.
Okay.
And they cut off. I don't know what the question, Alex, what was
I
the
didn't
question?
hear it.
Wondering if it's illegal to leave your pets outside or what qualifies as it being illegal.
A pet can be left outside if they have a shelter. If there's a shelter for that pet, it's not illegal for that pet to be outside.
Okay, thank you. I just know that I'd gotten a text that she just asked a question. Felt like,
I didn't hear it.
okay. All right, Mr. Mayor, you want to end this thing or? you got anything
Yeah,
else?
I'll give some final thoughts, Sheriff. I appreciate it. I just want to tell the community, look, we have been through a lot. Like, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. Right now, we are having the worst winter storm that Shreveport has seen in like 91 years. The way that we're going to get through this is the same way that we're getting through the pandemic. We really have to pull together at this time. As we touched on briefly, misinformation only adds to the anxiety. Please don't spread misinformation out there. Please rely on reliable sources of information so that you can make our jobs easier as we are working around the clock for you serving our city. And again, we got first responders out there. We got essential workers out there in our water and sewer department that are trying their best to keep our city afloat. I just ask that you keep us in your prayers.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll leave it by this. If you do need us, please call. We're there for you. Just call 911 if you're in an emergency, and we will be there. We'll figure out some way to get there. If we have to run, we'll get there. So just call us if you need us, and thank you.